pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You want to do it now?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to swear in our new student board member, Calista Tabarelli.
Callie.
This is it, so I'll read it. Just repeat after me, okay? All right, so I state your name.
I, Calista Tabarelli,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States
and this state,
and this state,
under the authority of the people, so help me God.
under the authority of the people, so help me God.
I state your name again.
I, Calista Tabarelli,
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law
do solemnly swear or affirm that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law
for the office of member of a Board of Education,
for the office of member of a Board of Education,
am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4-1,
am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4-1,
am not disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJSA 18A-12-1,
am not disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJSA 18A-12-1,
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Go next one. Bring you your phone. Pictures happen. There you go. Good, Mom. Your hand. Awesome.
Just for your information, we also had the swearing in of our new school board member, Jim Alpino. We did this earlier when we first opened up because his family couldn't be here for this session, so we swore him in when we first opened up. So congratulations to Jim and good luck. Okay, we're going to begin with our support staff of the year for 23-24 presentations.
Like, make sure to give a shout out to Angela in the corner. Angela, give a wave. Our awesome president.
So this is a very good day, members of the board, community, very exciting. We have several support staff of the year to recognize finally, and we're going to start off with the elementary support staff of the year. I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Greer, who is going to start, and then followed by Ms. LaRubio.
Thank you, everyone. I am so excited to be here to present Mrs. Ann Lang. Come on up, Ann. Now, I've promised to be very brief because she doesn't like the attention. But when I first went to Wedgwood last year, Ann was one of the first people I met. And I'm going to tell you a story about Ann. One of the very first conversations I had with Ann was looking for data. I went down to the reading specialist and I asked for when students moved in, how many students started in kindergarten, how many pre-registered, all kinds of basic data that a new principal would need. Ann's response was, and she's looking at me like she doesn't remember this, how would you like it? Would you like it on a chart? Would you like it organized by birth date, shoe size, favorite color? And I'm slightly exaggerating because she didn't do shoe size, but everything else. Not only did I leave there with the one piece of paper I needed, I had charts and graphs from years of historical data because she is Wedgwood's historian. She has been there, and I can tell you, I know the school colors because Ann told me what they were. Everybody's thinking it's blue and it's white. It's red and white, correct?
Yes.
Not to be mistaken, it is red and white. Also, she has every t-shirt herself. Every PTO t-shirt, every school t-shirt, every one of them. And it's tradition that at the end of the year, she wears a different Wedgwood t-shirt to school to remember all of those wonderful years. She is the one who knows all the secrets, so if you need something about Wedgwood, Ann's got it. Not only does she know the secrets, she knows every person. She can tell you about everybody, their families, their friends, their likes. She is so important to Wedgwood that I didn't allow her to retire. She has to stay until I do. So she's not leaving until after I do. Agreed? She's a little contrary at times, too. But Ann truly embodies everything that Wedgwood represents. So I'm very proud to have Ann represent Wedgwood as Sports Staff of the Year. And I get to present you with your very first certificate. Congratulations.
I told everybody we might need a bigger venue. Birches is in the house. Good evening, Dr. Hibbs, Board of Education, staff, teachers, and community members. We're gathered here today for one of the reasons to honor Mrs. Karen Moore. Who has been a dedicated member of the Birches staff for 24 years. Affectionately known as Miss Karen and Mia Moore, I heard. She's not only a devoted wife of 38 years, by the way, but also a mother of 2 daughters and a grandmother of 3. Mrs. Moore has been an integral part of our multiple disabled staff for over 2 decades. Despite her humble nature, Mrs. Moore consistently deflects attention from herself, choosing instead to celebrate and elevate the accomplishments of her many students. Her love for Disney is symbolic of her magical and nurturing presence with our students. And in talking to staff, the number of students Miss Karen has positively impacted is overwhelming. She exudes calming and steady influence within our school community and is respected by all of our faculty due to her kind and uplifting nature. Karen Moore is all heart. It brings me pure joy to acknowledge and celebrate our Washington Township Support Staff of the Year from our Birches Elementary, Mrs. Karen Moore. Thank you.
It's now my pleasure to introduce Ms. Agassi, who is going to present the Middle School Support Staff Members of the Year, both from Bunker Hill.
Good evening. We do have 2 from Bunker Hill Middle School. Our first is Anna Marie DeColi, if she would like to come on up. I personally have known Anna Marie since I was 5 years old. I played soccer with her daughter. But she started in Washington Township Public School District in 1997 at Birches, if I'm correct. Yes, so she is a longtime health assistant at Bunker Hill Middle School, but she began, Anna Marie began her career as a cafeteria assistant at the elementary level at Birches. Shortly after, she became a health assistant and has been serving in the capacity ever since. Mrs. DeColi works hand in hand with Mrs. Keene, our school nurse. She's incredibly knowledgeable in that capacity and handles the various nuances of the clinic's to support Mrs. Keene. Mrs. DeColley is loved by everyone whom she encounters. She has a special heart for the students in specialized programs, and she strives to attend all events for the staff and students. She's kind of our staff photographer, I would say, always making sure she has photos of us making pancakes with the officers. So we're so proud to have you, Anna Marie, so congratulations. Next, we have Stacy Yates, if she can come on up. I've only known you for past year, but I have to say the most lasting impression I have is your People Choice Award. You had Joelle, right? And the way that she spoke about Joelle brought tears to your eyes, but to the whole entire crowd. So that just shows how special Stacy is. She's a true professional in every sense of the word. She has served in almost every capacity as an assistant at Bunker Hill Middle School. Most notably, she has spent over a decade as one of the most relied upon instructional assistants in one of the classes that serves students with multiple disabilities. Mrs. Yates understands proper behavioral interventions with perfection and remains calm in difficult situations. Mrs. Yates is a true role model, confidant, and remarkable person who gives of herself fully and truly embraces what it means to be a Bunker Hill Bulldog. There is nothing Mrs. Yates wouldn't do for a child. She loves the Bulldogs as if they're her own children and is a profound advocate for each of them. We're incredibly fortunate to have you. Congratulations.
Is Mr. Anderson here? There you are, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson is now going to present the High School Support Staff Member of the Year.
I was wondering, this is perfect. I was wondering who was going to take the picture. I saw Kevin taking all the pictures, but it is with such great WTHS pride that I have the honor to introduce and to congratulate Mr. Kevin Lindstedt as our Educational Support Person of the Year. The contributions that Mr. Lindstedt makes to our high school and to our district are extremely valued and very appreciated. Kevin is a powerhouse behind the scenes at every successful high school event to make sure that every show, every presentation, every meeting has sight, sound, and aesthetic appeal. Kevin is in charge of recording and live streaming each and every Board of Education meeting. He's doing it right now while he's up here. It's set up very beautifully, and I know it's running at home as we speak. To say that Kevin is part of the backbone of this district would be an understatement, quite frankly. Kevin works tirelessly all year round for the many events and activities that take place all within the school district. Kevin is one of those individuals who always gets the job done thoroughly, efficiently, and effectively. When it comes to managing our school's audiovisual needs in our classrooms, Kevin always finds a way to provide assistance to the staff, all the time, no questions asked, immediately. Everything from maintaining inventory to making sure that staff has what it needs to successfully teach. Kevin is always prepared, and he's always ready to go. Supervisor of Visual and Performing Arts, Casey Crigliano, who's here tonight as well, says that Kevin is there behind the curtain. We call him the man behind the curtain. For every VPA event, whatever we need, his response is always, sure, no problem. We are grateful for all that he does to make us look and sound good on the stage. No job is too big or too small for Kevin. He is part of the mastermind team that ensures that our annual graduation ceremony is as beautiful as it is, time after time. Kevin is also very responsive and handles so much that goes on behind the scenes. When I think of Kevin's work ethic, I think of the opening faculty meeting that I had this year. Do you remember when the microphone kept going out? It was like, we're making all those noises. Before I could even blink, Kevin came out of nowhere, out of thin air, I say, and had another microphone in my hand, ready to continue, and we were able to continue with our work. That's what Kevin does. He makes sure that we have what we need in order to accomplish what we're looking to accomplish. Kevin never misses a beat. He's precise, and he cares. We are so very blessed to have Kevin Lindstedt on our team at the high school and in the district. So join me in congratulating this man for an outstanding honor. Oh, take this. Back to work.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I believe Ms. Redrow is not here today. She is being honored as our food service support staff of the year. I believe she's at the high school now. She was formerly at Bunker Hill, so I'd like to give her a round of applause, even though she couldn't make it. And I believe Ms. Watkins, Ms. Connie Watkins, who's a bus driver, is not here today, unless I'm mistaken. But she is our Transportation Bus Driver Support Staff of the Year. So please give her a round of applause as well. And now I'd like to introduce Mr. Walter, who's also going to introduce one of my other friends, Mr. Stewart.
Good evening, everyone. I'm proud to be here tonight to recognize two of our hard-working, dedicated support staff members. Mr. Craig Stewart is our Custodian of the Year. Craig has been a custodian in the district for approximately 10 years, all at Bunker Hill. Nicknamed the Squirrel. Don't know why, but he is nicknamed the Squirrel. Craig has become not only my go-to night shift custodian, but also a mentor to all of our newer custodians. Whether it's a phone call about an issue that has occurred at night in the building, or that Bunker Hill is running low on supplies, Craig's attention to detail is second to none. His section that he cleans is spotless, and trust me, I have the emails from all the teachers that back up that claim. He is truly a bulldog. Craig has finally done something that he's been talking about for years. He's going to retire. October 31st will be Craig's last day working. Yeah, big round of applause. Craig's last day is working with us on October 31st, Halloween. It's an odd day, but it's okay. So on behalf of myself.
You wouldn't get me off.
That is true. No, that is true. We had too many people off. On behalf of myself, the operations staff, the entire Bunker Hill Bulldog family, I want to congratulate you on a job well done, and congratulations on your retirement. Do it again. I gotta take my glasses off. All right.
Thank you. Go.
Yep. Okay. And Mr. Richie Davis, come on up. Mr. Richie Davis is our Maintenance Worker of the Year. Richie's been working as a maintenance mechanic in the district for over 38 years, and I've had the pleasure of knowing him for 32 of those years. If you have turned on a light switch, plugged in something into an outlet, or had a TV put up in your classroom, or even in this boardroom, it was probably Richie. I truly believe that along with our other district custodian, Mr. Gary Brown, that we have the best duo in South Jersey when it comes to electrical issues. Richie's dedication, not only his profession, but to the district, is second to none. If you have a question about something that's happened in the district, or if something has been stored for the past 38 years, this is the man to talk to. He knows where all the bodies are buried and where all the secrets are. This award is long overdue. So on behalf of myself and the entire operations team, I want to congratulate you, Richie, and you truly make this district a brighter place. So congratulations.
Hey, Mike, one sec. Jeff, that was awesome. You're hired for whatever we do. You're announcing, you're emceeing. You know, I'm going to do something a little different. I want you to give Jeff a big hand as well. Jeff has single-handedly kept us on the rails for months for buildings and grounds. So give him a huge round of applause.
Now we have Secretaries of the Year, and then first I'd like to introduce my friend, Ms. Petrowski from Chestnut Ridge Middle School.
Good evening, everyone. Congratulations to everyone we're celebrating tonight. At this time, I'd like to give a huge shout out and congratulations to Mrs. Michelle Bucci, our Chestnut Ridge Middle School and Secondary Secretary of the Year. Mrs. Bucci has been at Chestnut Ridge the last 25 years. She started as a library assistant at Chestnut Ridge Middle School in 2001, and at the start of 2005 and 2006 school year, she moved to a full-time 10-month attendance secretary, and then moved on to her current position as the counseling secretary, which she's done for the past 10 years. Below are the ways that Mrs. Bucci was described in the letters that were given to us for her nominations. This is what your Razorback family thinks about you. She is a true gem that is irreplaceable. She is kind, empathetic, hardworking, and most importantly, loves all of our students. Mrs. Bucci is great at what she does, technologically, personally, socially, and academically. Michelle makes and succeeds at every effort to connect and care for every student that enters the doors of the counseling office. She is selfless and will go out of her way to do anything for anyone in our building. She truly embodies the characteristics and attributes of Township pride and all of the values of our school. And finally, another comment. Mrs. Bucci goes above and beyond every day in her role as Chestnut Ridge Middle School's counseling secretary. She is professional, firm, friendly, strong, and maintains a calm environment in the counseling office for our staff and students. She always makes sure the counseling office is exactly the place it needs to be for our staff and our students. Michelle, you always give 110% every day. You come early, you stay late every day, and we love you, and we're just so proud of you. Congratulations.
Ms. Petrowski, thank you for taking my paper. I'd like to introduce Ms. Barry, who's going to introduce Ms. Wernick. Ms. Barry. I'm sorry, Frau Barry.
I had to clarify. It's Frau Barry, okay? That's okay. I was going to announce you. If you didn't come over, I was going to make sure I said it. It is with the utmost and immense Panther pride that I introduce Orchard Valley Middle School's Secretary of the Year, our main office secretary, Miss Janine Wernick. I'm absolutely privileged to stand here tonight and honor someone whose contributions go above and beyond her title. In fact, Her real title could be anything from chaos coordinator to inspirational leader to therapist to customer service representative, but I think the most appropriate is superhero. Every day, she does far more than manage paperwork, schedules, and phone calls. She brings calm to the storm, helps us navigate the unexpected, and does it all with grace and a smile. Whether it's checking staff absences during her morning workout, juggling a dozen tasks at once, offering a kind word of encouragement, or making sure everything runs like clockwork, she is the glue that holds OV together. But her impact reaches far beyond the main office at Orchard Valley. She is the heart and soul of our school, the person who leads with compassion, supports everyone without hesitation, and inspires us all to be our best while ensuring everyone feels supported and valued. She takes great care of every team member in our school, whether it's convincing Joe and I to eat, and to eat healthier, sending out inspirational messages to the staff, or figuring out the best way to create the new spreadsheet. Her role might be secretary on paper, but in reality, she is our backbone, our problem solver, our rock, and our real-life superhero. It's impossible to imagine Orchard Valley without her. So please join me in giving her one more round of applause to the true superhero of Orchard Valley Middle School.
Let's have one awesome more round of applause for all of our support staff for the year. Okay. So we have 2 more presentations. Would you guys like to roll through or take a quick sec? What do you guys want to do? Quick sec? All right, quick sec it is. There we go.
Yeah, I'm like, roll through, let's do it.
They said quick sec.
It's all good.
That was not a roll.
Yeah, it was good, man.
Okay, we have a few other presentations.
Let's go Eagle. Yeah. So let's go the incredible Eagle Scout presentation. Let's give a hand.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Julie Hopp. I'm the principal at Whitman, and it is my pleasure to introduce Shiraz Mehta. He is a former Whitman student and now at the high school, and he's pursuing his Eagle Scout. And I met him in August, and I have been so impressed with his dedication and his hard work to make this project a reality. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm Shiraz Mehta, and I'm presenting an idea for an outdoor reading area and US map at Whitman Elementary School. Oh, hold on. So I'm currently a freshman at Washington Township High School, and I went to Whitman from 2016 to 2020. I'm currently a Life Scout in Scouts PSA, and I'm working to reach Eagle Rank. In order to reach Eagle Rank, I need to do an Eagle Scout service project. This is a leadership project that helps a nonprofit organization and includes fundraising. This is how I got to an Eagle project at Whitman Elementary School. My project will include a U.S. painted map on the blacktop and an outdoor reading area in the courtyard. Why the U.S. map? I have always loved traveling in the world since I started traveling with my family at a young age. I also realized that the blacktop is relatively underutilized for learning purposes. That's why I want to share my love for geography in the world and provide a platform for learning and fun during recess. This is the area of the blacktop that I will be painting my map. It's between those hopscotch places and in the middle of that. So that's where we'll be painting it. So as you see, it was in that area of the courtyard. Now a satellite image, and some of the specifications are, it's around 27 by 16 feet. We're going to need 5 gallons of exterior acrylic latex paint, which is green, pink, orange, yellow, and blue, a U.S. map stencil, and washable chalk. These are some of the prices for the different things we will use. This U.S. map stencil at around $175, exterior rated paint $40 to $80, paint rollers at $50, and just chalk at $5. This brings the total approximate cost of the U.S. painted map to $630. Why the reading area? The second part of my project is an outdoor reading area, and I realized that the courtyard has the potential to create an amazing space for students and teachers. This, along with teacher and principal suggestions, created the idea of an outdoor reading area. These are some of the pictures of the courtyard right now, and we're going to be doing it in that area right there. There is currently a memorial for Jeffrey Moser, a previous Hoagie Cell recipient, and that tree was removed because it was dead. We are going to be planting a new tree and also doing some renovations to make it beautiful and increase the space. So these are the things in my outdoor reading area. We will have 4 convertible benches, 24 5-gallon buckets and lids, 24 seat cushions, an outdoor storage area, and 2 mulch gardens. So this is the layout of the outdoor reading area. It's going to be in that corner of the courtyard there in the frame. And so I enlarged it over here. So the walkway is highlighted in red, the building in gray. Purple is where the outdoor storage area is going to be. Blue is going to be the benches. Black is going to be the mulched area. And oranges are places where students can sit and do their work and stuff. So we have gotten 4 benches, which will convert into 2 tables. This can be used as either one, and they are easily maneuverable like that. It has durable and weather-resistant material, and those are some of the specifications on screen. So my original idea with the seats was that during independent reading time or group reading time, students could take this seat or bucket and could go around in the courtyard under teacher supervision and be on their own. So this can make them be able to read better and also have a quieter and more controlled environment, I guess. And we also, with principal and teacher suggestions, came up with the idea that buckets could be used to carry the materials they will need for class so that you can take them around, sit on them, and then read or do other work. So these are around 12 inches in diameter and 15 in height, light, stackable, and we're going to get 24 of these 5-gallon buckets with handles. We're also going to get lids which fit with the 5-gallon bucket so that they are able to sit. Now, as you may think, sitting on buckets may not be the most comfortable thing. So that's why we're going to get 24 of these colorful cushions at around 12 inches in diameter and 1 in height. These are flexible, easy to clean, and can fit right on top of that bucket. This all stuff will fit in the outdoor storage area. As seen before in the map and the layout, it was the purple thing in the nook and cranny of that courtyard. It's around 30 inches in depth, 56 in width, and 44 in height. It's waterproof, has double doors, and latches and a metal gas rod to prevent injuries. This can make sure the roof cannot fall on anybody's fingers and everybody is safe. Finally, we are going to have the mulch gardens. As shown before in that picture, we have one area where a tree used to be as a memorial to Jeffrey Moser, and another tree which is growing right now. We are going to create these mulch gardens like that picture over there, which is going to have a radius of 3 feet for 2 trees, and we're going to have edging stones and flowers native to New Jersey. This is the design for the edging stones that we will use. It's around 160 edging stones to go around each tree twice at around an 18-foot or 20 feet circumference at around $6.60 per stone. So in order to create these mulch gardens, we have to do a 5-step process. We have to dig 2 inches, put 2 inches of dense graded aggregate, which will be donated, level with sand, which will also be donated, place the edging stones, place the live flowers, and then place the mulch. That brings our cost to, when you add everything up, around $2,690. This includes the benches, cushions, outdoor storage area, edging stones, and other materials. When you add that all up, including refreshments for work days like pizza, water, and other treats for volunteers, I think that's against some labor laws if you don't feed them. So, yeah, we got to get on that.
Touche, my man, touche. Good man.
So that brings our total cost to around $3,500. And as I said before, we're not getting this from you, we're getting this through fundraising. So I've created a flyer that says what I will be doing and my story, and we're also going to have social media, friends and family, and donations from certain organizations to help us raise all this money. So this is a rough timeline of when I have started my project and when you can expect it to be completed. So since the beginning of the year to around now, I've developed and created ideas with the principals and teachers at Whitman. Then right here today, I'm at the Board of Education meeting and seeking approval to continue. In the late fall, I will then go to the Garden State Council of Scouts BSA and seek approval from them. Then I can start fundraising and getting the money I need. Then in the spring, work will start and shovels will go into the ground. And then finally, I will work on the paperwork and finally completing my Eagle project. Do you have any questions for me? Yes.
I'm Councilman Bennett, and I was your Boy Scout leader,
Yep.
and you do a great job.
Thank you.
You really do a good job. You're a great kid, and you're going to be successful in this. And I got some business, and you're going to be able to help me, okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much, and I hope...
I got one.
Oh,
So
my bad.
there's a map, there's seats, there's benches, there's cushions, there's buckets, there's a tree, at least one, there's mulch, there's edging stones, and flowers. That's it? I'm kidding. That's awesome. That's awesome. You are going to see this young man on Shark Tank sometime. Give him a hand.
Thank you.
I'm really proud to have him be a product of Whitman, and can't wait to see what you do in the future and for us. So we have a certificate that we want to present. Thank you very much.
Great job.
We are very much appreciated.
Thanks, Kev.
Yeah, Lynn's
Great job, Tross. That was awesome. Hold on, one more. One more pick from Mom. We have one last incredible accomplishment. What? There's two? Oh, no, two. I lied. You're right. Let's Summer Theater first. Okay, summer theater. Here we go.
Just because they have tests.
Yeah, we have tests.
Okay. Okay, first I'm going to read the certificate that will be awarded to Mr. Steffen and the kids that participated in the summer theater program. Everyone knows theater is important to me, and I'm excited to do this for my son, who is horrified. I think the best part is my mom's like, you have to pick Andrew up from this like white Board of Ed building. I was like, where I am? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, are you here? But anyway, okay. The certificate reads, Certificate of Appreciation. The Washington Township Board of Education proudly presents this certificate to, in recognition of your outstanding dedication and invaluable contributions as a volunteer at Summer Theater Camp. Your passion and commitment have made a lasting impact on our students and the success of the camp. Thank you for helping to inspire creativity and foster a love for the arts. Presented on September 24th, 2024, signed by Dr. Hibbs, our superintendent, and Ralph Ross, our Board of Education president. Okay, I'm moving up. Okay, Mr. Steffen. Jessica Kelleher. I'm going to kill names, so I apologize. Okay. Andrea Cardamone. James Connor. Annabelle Corigliano. Jana Dakotas. Jana Dakotas. Andrew DeMayo. This is great. Okay. Alexa Howley. Violet Merrigan, I think, is ill, so thoughts for her. Judah Nalbandian. Did I get that right? Give her an applause. Francesca Pavone. Okay. Ava Stellicone. You're coming. She's here. Oh, there she is, Ava. Sonia Teresco. Joshua Wakeman. And Martina Weaver. And everyone, when is the play? November 14th, 15th, and 16th. Harry Potter. The Cursed Child. I don't want to get it wrong. It's going to be awesome. I know it. Let me get it.
Mr. Steffen, thank you for all that you did. That looked amazing. Thank you for bringing, people in to talk to our students about, all the things that are great for VPA. Thank you. Great job, guys. Good luck on the tests. Now we have one left. Last but certainly not least, we want to celebrate an amazing accomplishment in first in math.
Connie, do you want to present that certificate?
Good evening. I'd like to bring up first and foremost Ms. Janice Chen. So now I get to really brag. Mr. Benzie couldn't be here tonight, but he gave me something he wanted to make sure I read. So in case you didn't know, First in Math is an online math program that the students at Wedgwood completely embrace, especially Ms. Chen right here. Our students take pride in producing math, learning different skills, and competing for both school-based and national recognition. This evening, we're here to recognize the amazing First in Math achievements of former Wedgwood 5th grade student and current 6th grade student at Chestnut Ridge, Janice Chen. During the 23-24 school year, Janice became a First in Math Grand Champion during the very first week of school by earning more than 10,000 stickers. And just to put that in perspective, out of 500 students, we may have 110 Grand Champions by the end of the year. Janice did it in the first week. As the school year continued, so did her enthusiasm. When you think about sports seasons, how long a football season is and a basketball season is, First in Math is a 10-month season, and she never once wavered in her enthusiasm. To continue for 10 months working on First in Math, it takes determination and perseverance to continue to not only excel at your math skills, but these goals are set above grade level. So she's gone through her grade level and then above and beyond. By the end of the school year, Janice earned 100,000 stickers. She solved more than 300,000 math problems. She finished her elementary school career as the #1 First in Math student at Wedgwood, the #1 First in Math student in Washington Township, the #1 First in Math student in the state of New Jersey, and the #2 First in Math student in the entire nation. Standing ovation. You earned that. Janice also became only the 3rd student in the 20-year history of First in Math to reach 100,000 stickers in a school year, and she's the very first female student to do so. Wedgwood School is honored. Wedgwood School is honored to recognize Janice Chen for her amazing accomplishments using the First in Math online program. She's doing us proud, all of us. Congratulations.
Great job. Picture's coming. You got to smile.
Yep, everyone's twice seven. Come on, Mrs. Ryan.
Thank you. Big round of applause for such an amazing accomplishment.
Mr. Ross, to make a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'd just like to make a comment. Janice, we're proud of you, as well as all the students in Washington Township who participate in First in Math, and the teachers that encourage them. This spring, it was very possible that we were going to lose First in Math, and many students came out, and parents wrote, and people spoke about it. I want to thank Mrs. Gerber for her efforts in bringing the program to us, and Dr. Nathan in trying to make sure that we can have this program back in our schools, and to Dr. Hibbs in his efforts. So fortunately, we have First in Math in all our schools, and we know that our kids really, it's a culture here. And many kids participate, and thanks to Mr. Renzi at Wedgwood School and what he does, we're very proud of all of you. And Janice, you're right up there. Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna go to the consent agenda. If anybody wants to leave, now is the time. So speak now or forever hold your peace.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Discussion items. Any discussion items? School and community relations?
Nope, no sir.
Nothing?
Nope.
Correspondence? Nothing at this time. Approval of the minutes for August 2024 and September 5, 2024. Do you have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Any old business? No old business? Committee reports.
Wait a minute, I have some old business. Dr. Hibbs, were you able to, I had written to you about the health benefits with flu shots and being able to, I just wondered if you had a chance to find anything out about that?
Yeah, I think I'm going to speak intelligently here. Sean, drive me left or right. So there's an issue with how things are being coded by pharmacies. So the question came about, I think it's Minute Clinic and our flu shots. So we're sending out information about how to ensure they are properly processed. And I think Mr. Sweeney is working on a flu shot day in Township.
Yeah, so. Yeah, Dr. Hibbs, everything you said was accurate there. Brown & Brown, our provider, is working to put together some information for our employees in regards to kind of guiding the pharmacies in the right direction to make sure the flu shots are being covered. And we are in the process of exploring logistics of hosting a flu shot clinic here in the near future for employees as well.
I'm just wondering too, if there were any employees that had to put money out of pocket because they were told it was denied, will they get reimbursed?
Sean?
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
Any other old business? Okay. Committee reports, negotiations, Mrs. Baker?
I know. We're in the process of meeting with the principals and the supervisors. We're just in the beginning of that process right now. We had one meeting.
Policy, Mr. Serrano?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. We discussed in our committee meeting where myself, President Ross, and Mrs. Baker were present, Director Sweeney and Director DiStilio on September 9th, 2024 at 4:30 p.m. We discussed the field trip destinations that are currently on the agenda for Busch Gardens. We discussed Policy 3160, Policy 4160, both physical examinations for certified and non-certified staff. Policy 5337, service animals. Policy 8420, emergency and crisis situations, discussion only. Some of the other items that we discussed that are only up for discussion, no policies at this point in time, were Oprah requests payment policy and soliciting vendors and political contributions, as well as the organizational chart. So that is, it's all for my minutes, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you.
Some questions,
Mr. Ross, can I also add that I mentioned about negotiations. We also had a personnel committee meeting this month. However, it started around 4:30, but it ended about 4:40, so we never had a meeting. I just wanted the public to know that. Thank you.
Instructional affairs?
Just some questions on the policy one. I thought I'd bring it up here rather than we get to vote on it. I did have a question on the service animal policy. It talks about trainer, right? That the animal could have a trainer. My one question there was, should we have something in the policy that says if the trainer has not already been background checked, that they would go through a background check? And like, if there was ever a situation where the trainer wasn't already a school employee that was background checked, we just want to make sure that that person would be background checked before they're near children.
I think that's fair. I think I responded to you, Scott. I'm not sure what I responded to. Definitely a fair. It's definitely a fair request. If the trainer, who in this scenario, very probably random or remote scenario, is not a school employee, they should be background checked to the extent they're going to be regularly around students. That's a fair point.
Sean, could you work with Mr. Serrano and tighten that up? Mr. Serrano, you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, discussion? Instructional affairs?
So, yeah, my other question just was, and I wasn't there this week, I couldn't make the earlier time. That policy regarding the political contributions, where did we end up on that, or did you guys still discussing it?
Yeah, I can speak to it. So we're still discussing it. There's two Supreme Court cases for political contributions at the federal level that allow organizations, nonprofit organizations, corporations to donate political contributions. So I think that we need to be careful because some of those rulings, so 2 rulings specifically, Buckley v. Vallejo Supreme Court ruling and Citizens United Supreme Court ruling, speak to political donations, companies and organizations' rights, and that being tied to their First Amendment right to free speech. So I want to tread a little bit lightly. Last time I tried to implement something that had to do with, time limits on speaking, there was some little bit of outcry from the public, so I got to tread lightly there. Thank you. So to answer your question, it's still in discussion.
Is that something that the solicitor, you're going to have the solicitor weigh in on all his court cases? Or?
Absolutely. I didn't bring them up to him, but I will absolutely at the next committee meeting. Hopefully someone from your firm is there. We can discuss it.
No problem. You can talk to me before the committee meeting as well. It makes it easier, obviously.
Yes, sir. Will do. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Scott? No?
No, I'm good.
Instructional affairs, Mrs. Bloom?
I'm gonna take this one, Ralph. So I attended instructional affairs, and it was an awesome meeting. We covered a lot in a short amount of time. We talked about the 2024-2025 professional development plan. Also talked about the district mentoring plan. These are all items that we're going to be voting on this evening. We talked about the Eagle Scout project, which was absolutely amazing. I think everyone will agree tonight that we saw it live. Dr. Nathan shared the proposed Eagle Scout project. It's awesome. A majority of the time, we talked a lot about the dual credit courses at the high school. And for those of you that don't know, we have now over 50 dual credit courses, which is amazing. For those that want to review them, and Ms. Grimaldi, I'm going to turn this over to you in a second to expand on it, but there's links to the dual credit courses are under the counseling tab on our website. So if you're looking for them, if you're planning courses out for your child, it's a wonderful way for them to earn college credit. It's under the counseling tab on the website. Ms. Grimaldi, I'm going to turn it over to you to comment on this.
Thanks, Mrs. Chella. So just to let everyone know, we have a partnership with 4 colleges. So first is Camden County College, and we have about 50 courses offered. We either offer weighted, those are for like weighted courses, honors courses, AP courses, and also college prep courses. So it's a great variety of courses. So we hope that you do take advantage of it. We do share that information with families during the scheduling advisement time. We have it on our website. I even post information to explain the difference between advanced placement and a dual credit. So that way families understand. In addition to that, we have Stockton University with about 6 courses that are approved for dual credit. We also have RCSJ, which 1 course is approved, and then we just have a new partnership with New Jersey City University for a course for ROTC. So we have close to probably about 70 courses of dual credit. You don't have to attend that college in order for it to count for you. You do get a transcript from the college. But the courses really are very inexpensive. Stockton University is usually about maybe $300-400. Camden County RCSJ is $150. So it's a cost savings in the long run. Students can graduate with 24, 30 credits depending on what courses they're taking and how they're taking advantage of it. So we would highly recommend it. As a matter of fact, families should have received the Stockton University information for those students in that class. I want to thank all the teachers and the supervisors for working with me to really enhance the program and make it one of the largest for the region, especially for Camden County College. We're the largest high school courses that are offered. So we're really proud of that little fun fact. But so thank you, and please take advantage.
Awesome, thank you. And finally, Dr. Nathan shared that the academies are growing. In addition, you are going to be doing a full academy experience with plans for induction, student portfolios, student conferencing, and personalized pathways. Also, that obviously includes field trips, which enhances the academy experience. There's some on the agenda tonight with regards to adjudication, and it's just a phenomenal experience for our students to further enhance their academy experiences. We have just some stats. 2022 to 2023, we had 75 academy students. In 23-24, we had 119 Academy students. And in 24-25, we have over 250 Academy students. So that's an amazing accomplishment and exactly what we all wanted to see, right, them grow. So that's it. Thanks, Dr. Nathan, for pulling this together. It was a great meeting.
Okay, thank you. Business Committee, Mr. Liberty?
Yep, thank you. So we didn't have a formal business committee meeting this month, just due to various conflicts. So what we ended up doing is the president and vice president, so Mr. Ross and myself, had a phone call with the BA and Dr. Hibbs just to go through any of the items and updates so that we could report out here and items that need to be voted on. What we went through, we discussed the energy audit update. With that, basically, we are at the stage where we're going to be going out for RFP at that point. So what we have to do with that is going out for RFP, the whole thing gets put out to bid. We discussed whether we would use our engineer in that process, which we thought would be a good idea, just because we're talking about lots of complex modifications that can be made to buildings and a lot of knowledge that needs to be had there. And we also talked to that we have to do an audit as part of this. So it's not like our regular financial state audit. It's an audit basically of the process that takes place that kind of verifies that the costs and the savings will actually generate, the anticipated savings, because we're going to get a lot of that back. So that audit will take place. But all the costs are embedded into the proposal, and we are hoping to get great things, a lot of savings out of this. So I'm going to Dr. Hibbs or Janine want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'll add at least one quick thing. So that investment grade audit is a mandatory part of the energy savings improvement plan. So essentially, to boil it down, they look at our energy, tell us how to save it, and they give us money for projects. So we're hoping for millions in projects. It's not going to be money where they hand us, they literally only do projects. But we're hoping to do a lot of things. HVAC, stadium lights will be included in this. We made sure of it. Going to LED everywhere in the entire district is just really just an amazing thing. That investment grade audit, though, full transparency, is the only item in the whole audit that will cost the board any money, but you can't proceed without it, because it's a standalone audit that ensures that the first audit that you had from New Jersey Clean Energy matches up with what they think you're going to save. By law, all of these have to be cash positive, so they can't be in the negative. So they have to be, there's a rigorous process to entertain that. So the next step is the RFP, and then we will then find out how many millions we'll be able to put into projects, which is going to be an incredible thing. Yeah.
Not only incredible, I think it's a great thing that was done, very creative, that's going to enable us to help with the upkeep of our buildings, which otherwise we might have struggled to do financially.
Yes, absolutely.
And also at the same time having a positive effect on the environment. So really pleased that this is moving forward. We also talked through some purchasing items. If we talked about purchasing bid for the boilers, maintaining those. We also talked through the tuition rates. There's software that calculates out what that amount will be. We also have the ability to modify that if needed throughout the year. And then we did talk about the bleacher project that's finished. And just to remind everybody, that bleacher project, we had a lot of discussion in the business committee before that went forward. Two of the business committee members, myself and Mr. Tomczak, when he was on here, met with the administration, the engineers, the AD, athletic director, about why it needed to be done, the current state of them, and how by doing it now we're able to salvage large portions of that structure, which ended up costing us less in the long run. And it looks great. There's still a few things that need to be done to finish it out, as far as like some cosmetic work, fixing a little bit of the concrete with the way the path would go. And now we have back entrances to the bleachers that are also ADA compliant. So came out really good.
Yep. And they were not ADA compliant before. The only ramp would have been on the left-hand side on the small bleachers. Now we have them everywhere, and they're actually called vomitories. I know it sounds weird, but that's what they're called when you come up from behind. So it's and I think we put it to a test right out of the gate. I think we had 2,700 people at the first football game. So put them right to a test.
There you go. I was going to avoid the term vomitory, but you brought it up. And then we also talked about the RBAC update, that's fully cleared. Talked through that cleaning process and how it was fortunate we were able to make that timing work, so it had very little to no impact on the academic year. And then finally, we discussed the budget task force. Just to remind everybody that is moving forward. We're going to have our first meeting on Monday. So everybody that's on that task force has been notified. They've gotten the ground rules for that meeting. We've been working on a kickoff deck that we'll have for that. And we're looking forward to moving that process forward to hopefully get some good input from the public on potential ways that we can identify cost savings and also reduce costs and maybe generate some revenue to help us out with the budget. And that is it.
Thank you, Scott. Any other old business? Okay, we have a motion to open up to the public on agenda items only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second. Do we have any yellow cards?
I have two, I just have two questions about security. One of them, I don't know if it's a policy, so to say. I don't really know technical terms, that's why I'm not like on the board. No. What?
If it's like usually when there's a security issue broken up, you don't want like somebody to say, oh, you know what, this lock's broken on this door.
No.
Nothing like that?
No.
Right.
No. So one of it is when the incident happened at Bunker, I'm curious to know who makes the decisions about lockdown in the school. I know we have a new director of security, and I was pretty pleased to hear who it was. He's fantastic. He's great at his job. But is it a policy about lockdown, or who decides this? I know the call went in the police at 8 o'clock. My kid was still able to get off the bus into school grounds. So I know that, how it played out. It was very quick, but it never went on into lockdown. And I'm just curious to know why the buses were still able to come to school and my kid was able to get into school when all this was playing out. So I don't know if that is something that has to be looked at and how lockdowns work or activated. I'm not sure. The other piece of it is during this conversation, I had asked if there was a specific protocol or how it works with special ed classes, whether it's the MD class, the autism class, the BD class, and the response was there is none, that it's the same protocol across the board. And it didn't really sit well with me. And the other second half of the response on that is that it's left up to the teachers to do this job, which they are the professionals, and I understand that. And, but in the cases of classrooms where most of the kids don't speak, have ambulatory issues, can't follow a simple command, that's a lot to put on a teacher without another specific protocol for these specialized classes. So I don't know if as a board, there is something that you guys can look at and I'm not asking, again, for specific protocol or how that works, because I understand there's confidential things, but even just to look at it as to why there is no separate safety protocol in the case of an emergency for special ed instead of gen ed, that they should not be the same thing. There has to be a separation, a separate plan for kids and teachers that need help in these situations. So I don't really need like an answer. I guess I just wanted to make it known that this was the information I was given, and I'm not thrilled with it. And if it's something that can be looked into, teachers, staff, students, parents, I know we would all really appreciate it. So thanks.
Yeah, I think
Hi, Nicole, how are you? Okay, so I definitely, so the whole none versus on a teacher, I don't think that's 100% accurate. So I'm going to connect you to both Annette and Christina to talk about that, because I know that we have specific, even child level plans for individual kids. So while we don't ever talk about security stuff in public, it's just a horrible practice to do. I want you to connect so you can get those answers for sure.
Okay. Terry Schechter?
Hello, good evening, everyone. I would like to say that I've been coming to these meetings for a while now, and this one was a really great one. It was nice to celebrate all the wins, so hopefully everyone has a good feeling tonight. I want to bring up some things I've brought up at past meetings around the curriculum for media studies and computers and STEM in our elementary schools. Thank you, Dr. Nathan. I was able to review the media studies curriculum. These are clearly very highly regulated documents, so I did my best to interpret them based on my reading. I think they're very complicated. I'm not sure what class dedication, how that translates into time, but based on my review of the curriculum, it seems that the time spent on STEM-focused information is about a third of what it was last year. So at the elementary level, if they were getting about 24 hours of instruction on technology, this year they're going to go down to about 7. That's just, percentages based on what I was able to understand on what was posted. This is very concerning. I think that we need to engage as many students as possible in STEM as early as possible so that we are not widening the gap of who is interested in participating in these kinds of activities. I'm hoping that we can better understand. I didn't see any curriculum changes or revisions in science to sort of take up for any of the gaps left by how we address the computer and library curriculum. So if there's been any updates, or if we can better understand if we're just having fewer hours dedicated to technology at the elementary level, that would be great. The second point I want to bring up again, especially as the business task force gets going on the budget for next year, I think that transportation for preschool is essential. It's an important component to make sure we're addressing the population of children that don't have access to early education. I would imagine that parents who can drop their kids off and get to work after 9 and leave work before 3 is probably not addressing the key folks that we're trying to engage in education before they get to kindergarten. So I know that there's budget concerns and how do we pay for that. I would ask the board to consider that, as well as the lottery system, we should be looking at incomes of who are invited to participate and possibly add tuition for folks who have certain income levels. So that's all I have for tonight, but thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Lugarini?
Yeah, Mr. Serrano, I heard you mention policies, and one in particular about political contributions. So I'm assuming that you were referring to contributions that come from law firms, engineering firms, insurance brokers, just name a few. And I assume that the conundrum is, the right or the rights of the companies and professionals to give money to whomever they like for political contributions. But the funny thing is, when you talk about the Board of Education, it's not supposed to be political. That to me is the catch, so to speak. And it's been that catch with me for over 40 years that I've been in the school system. I think Mrs. Baker could attest to that. We've had many conversations about the politics of Washington Township and how she used to condemn them. But I think if board members receive money, either directly from these professionals or through soft money, where the professionals give it to a PAC of some sort, named, Betterment for Washington Township, let's say. And then that money gets funneled to candidates like yourself and Mr. Ross, and we get signs across Washington Township with your names on it, with Schools First. We get those robocalls on the phone, which cost a lot of money. We get glossies with your picture telling us how wonderful you are. That's soft money. I think if a company gives to a PAC that ultimately gives thousands of dollars to board members, okay, that should be reported. That should be reported. And the heck with the First Amendment rights. All right, because what is happening to our school system, and I'm sure Dr. Hibbs and everyone on this Board of Education would agree that when they set up the parameters for boards of education and residents and Board of Education contributions, they were thinking more along the lines of not being at a political circus, okay? That's why you don't see towns like Haddonfield or Washington Township or Williamstown. You don't see any of the suburban communities, even though they are political, come out with signs that say Serrano and Ross, Democrats for the opportunocrats, okay? You don't see those signs. They're not supported directly by political parties because people don't want it, because it ruins the school system. So if you're receiving money from these PACs or directly from these professionals or whatever, it should be reported. And we've already seen the ill effects of it here in Washington Township over the last 7-8 years of this school system being politicized to the point where it's a political whorehouse, okay? And it is costing us because our ranking, despite all those people who want to keep things the same, is now down at the bottom third in the state of New Jersey. And based on our demographics, it shouldn't be. And it's all not totally contributable to the politics of Washington Township. There's other factors. But we got to clean up this money. And I would urge all residents, if they get a robocall that costs thousands of dollars and signs all over the place, and commercials and glossies, you better not vote for those candidates because they're in somebody's hip pocket. Thank you.
Joe Tarabarelli.
Hi. I just have a question for clarification because I know as much about politics as I know about polo. So if I'm a business owner in Washington Township, if I donated to a candidate, Joe Schmo, sorry for the Joe Schmoes out there, and I happen to be a Republican, is that a political donation? Because it's coming from my business and I happen to be a Republican, or are we only talking about, people that are in the political race donating to the board? I just need clarification because, again, polo politics. So that's it. Thank you.
I have your card. We'll get back to you. I said I have your card. We'll get back to you. The attorney will. Okay, anything else for the public? Okay, seeing none.
I do believe, real quick, I do believe just as far as,
I believe, as far as I remember, for ELEC, anything over $300, no matter who donates, I think it's anything over $300, singular or an aggregate, meaning like together, has to be reported. And that's the rule. So I don't think it, political or not, that's how it works.
Political or not.
For reporting, yes, it doesn't matter.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, I have a motion to close to the public.
So moved.
Second? Have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on. Report of the superintendent. Items number 1 and 2.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Mrs. Chilla?
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo?
Yes.
Mr. LaLiberty?
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Serrano?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes. Instructional affairs?
Did you miss? I think you missed.
I
Question?
I wasn't too sure when you said earlier if you wanted to be part of it or not this session. I know, but, so I just needed clarification on that from the last time.
I'm not clear on what you're asking.
Mr. Arpino?
Oh, no, he has the opportunity to abstain from voting,
Okay,
but you still call his name in the roll call.
okay,
He
thank you.
still absolutely is.
Okay, so, Mr. Arpino?
Abstain.
Okay. I will. Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Right?
You're good? Yeah.
Yes. Just needed clarification, sorry.
Yeah, he's in B. He's in red.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good. Policy. Or no?
Okay, instructional,
Affairs.
did I just say instructional affairs? Items number 1 to 4.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Chilla?
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo? Yes. Mr. LaLiberty?
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Serrano?
Yes.
Mr. Arpino?
Abstain.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
So that went smoother.
You killed it. You killed
Policy, have a motion for items number 1 to 3.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
Just to make sure we're all on the same page, so the K3 on the service animals, that's gonna, Sean's gonna update that to reflect.
Yeah, so it'll be approved tonight as a first read, as long as okay with that.
Yep.
And then what'll happen is it's not final, so it doesn't do anything. So it has to come to a final. When it comes to a final, Sean and Mr. Serrano will work together to put the language in for the handler to make sure they're background checked.
So we'll see that in the second reading.
100%.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Sean, you got that?
So it's just your policy?
I'll do roll call.
Just
Okay.
did policy first
Miss-
reading, I believe.
DeMayo?
Voting on policy.
Mr. LaLiberty?
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Serrano?
Yes.
Mr. Arpino?
Just in policy.
Mrs. Baker?
Student activities.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Chilla?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes. Student activities, approve items number 1 to 6. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. LaLiberty?
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Serrano?
Yes.
Mr. Arpino?
Abstain.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Mrs. Chilla?
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo? Mr. Ross?
Yes. Human Resources, motion to approve Human Resources items 1 to 6, item 8, item 10 to 15, item 17 to 39, and item 41 to 51.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
Scott.
Roll call?
Oh, you want to do the retiring?
Yes. Yes. So we got a few retirees. We already heard about a few of them. We got a couple more. All right. Frank Appello is retiring after 29 years. We got a lot, so you want to hold your applause till the end. So. No, it's great. They all deserve all their applause. Jill Graham, a world language teacher at the high school, 17 years. We got Terry Kratz, elementary teacher at TJ, 33 years. All right, right, Francis Libby III, technology education teacher at OVMS, 27 years. We got Ann Marguglio, assistant high school data specialist, 27 years. All right, Kristen Smith, art teacher at the high school, 30 years. We all heard about the great things of Craig Stewart retiring after 10 years. And Edith Ferrero, teacher assistant, GTECC, 7 years. That's a total of 180 years.
180. Wow. I think that's a record. Literally.
It's a lot.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Serrano?
No to 48, yes to the rest.
Mr. Arpino?
Abstain from everything except for the retirement.
Mrs. Baker?
Number 38, no. Due to budget concerns, not enough information. Number 48, no. Guide placement, budget information. Number 49, abstain, not enough information. Number 50, abstain, not enough information. And number 51, abstain, not enough information. And yes to the rest.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Chilla?
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo?
Yes.
Mr. LaLiberty?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Can I just take a sec? So I want to introduce two awesome people. First off, Joanne Henry is our own, and we'll have another one that should be our own, but Joanne. For those of you who don't know, Joanne is a current special ed supervisor, working under both Annette and Christina, and has done a wonderful job, right? She's going to do a great job. All right. Secondly, I have Parrot Side, who's coming to us from Kingsway. Part of our admin team. You're welcome, and then thank you for being awesome. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Give me a hand.
Finance and facilities, motion for items number 1 to 22.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. Roll call?
Mr. Serrano?
Yes.
Mr. Arpino?
Abstain.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Mrs. Chilla?
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo?
Yes.
Mr. LaLiberty?
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay?
Abstain on number 20, yes to the rest.
Mr. Ross?
Yes. Special education, motion for items number 1 to 11.
So moved.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Arpino?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Chilla?
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo?
Yes.
Mr. LaLiberty?
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Serrano?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes. Negotiations, nothing at this time. New business,
Yeah, I have some.
go ahead, Scott.
Okay, all right. First thing, I'd like to make a motion to amend policy 0155, which is the policy about committees attendance. I'd like to amend that policy to replace item number 7 on that policy to read as follows. Committee meetings shall be closed except that members of the board, district employees, contractors, and/or the public may attend upon invitation of the committee. Invitations should only be extended to current employees, personnel currently contracted by the district, or individuals who can provide valuable input or benefit to the business of the committee. The committee may agree to invite current employees or district contracted resources by a simple majority vote of the committee. However, any invitation to an individual who is not a district employee or contractor must be approved by a majority vote of the full Board of Education. At no point may confidential information be discussed when members of the public are present. Whenever a quorum of the board is to attend a committee meeting, that meeting must be announced and open according to the Sunshine Law. That clarification, I think, clarifies a couple of things. One, reminds people that if public are invited to a committee meeting, we can't discuss confidential information. Secondly, it is designed to put a protection that if the committee wants to bring somebody that we're already contracted with, the committee could vote to do that themselves. My personal worry is when we invite outsiders, and I mean outsiders, somebody that's not contractually under a contractual relationship with the district, we're bringing those people into a committee meeting, the full board should have knowledge of that and approve it, because I think that could open us up to potential risk. So that's the motion.
Shouldn't that go to the policy committee first?
I think this one's so important, it needs to be clarified. I drafted it myself. It was hoping to push it out to the board tonight for consideration. Otherwise, last time I went to the policy committee, I think, no, it wasn't with you, Steve, but just in general, I think it takes months and months to get that done.
Just for clarification, Scott, what bullet was that on the policy, number 6 that you said?
Number 7.
Oh, number 7.
Yeah, it's number 7.
Okay,
it's the same wording. I think probably the proper thing to do would be the motion's on the table, somebody would have to second.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah, and then have a discussion.
Sorry, I'll second the motion.
Discussion?
Yeah, are we seconding first read? That is our policy. Why are we going straight to an amendment if we haven't gone through first read or second read?
Do we have to go through first and second read?
We would have to go through.
It's not a new policy, it's an amendment to a policy, but...
The reason I'm suggesting it, just to answer your question, I think that it's an ambiguous policy that leaves the district open to potential liability and should be clarified as soon as possible. That's why I drafted this amendment and why I'm motioning forward tonight.
It seems pretty straightforward.
I could send the language to Lori as well.
Any discussion, more discussion? Got a first and a second?
Well, could we
I'm just
have a
wondering,
copy of it?
I'm just wondering if, we're going to amend it, maybe a friendly amendment along with that, that the committee, if the committee feels that we should have our solicitor there at the committee meeting, that we would be able to do that.
That's what the policy says.
Well, that's why I suggested it go to the policy committee and then bring it back.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should go back to the policy committee.
Let me just pulling up your policy that's relevant to this 0131. It states bylaws, policies, and regs may be adopted and revised at any meeting of the board, provided the proposed, what's that? Oh, sorry. Provided the proposed adoption or revision has been approved by the board at a previous meeting of the board. In other words, it would have to be approved tonight and adopted at a second meeting. Okay.
Could we have a copy of it? Could we maybe wait until the next meeting? Because I'd like to look at the two before
Yeah.
voting.
I just sent it to Lori. It's one paragraph, so I think if you want to take, I think because it takes 2 meetings to get it approved, if you could just take a quick look at it. The only things I changed, and you can take a quick look, and Ari can maybe look as well, was the adding the...
We have a copy.
So you're suggesting we circumvent the policy committee, which is what we usually do?
Yes. Only because of the expedient nature of this, I think it, and just doing it this way, it's going to take us 2 meetings, so we're not going to have this enacted until the middle of November, end of November, right? So we go through policy committee, Policy committee's got to meet in November. They got to draft it. They got to send it through. We have to have a first reading, then a second reading. You're looking at maybe the end of December, if we're lucky. Last time I went through policy committee, I think it took 5 to 6 months before the change ever got approved.
Okay, well, that's deviation from what we did. We got a first and we got a second. Any
There's a
other
lot of
discussion?
deviations from the way we usually do things tonight, so let's go for another one.
Any other discussion?
Lori can make Lori's going to make copies.
Okay.
By us going for an amendment to this policy, is there any blowback legally from us carrying forward this amendment to be adopted at the next meeting, or is...
That's what your policy requires.
Okay.
So there wouldn't be any blowback. That would be the procedure based on your bylaws and policies.
Can you just state what it would be again? So we would approve the amendment, and then we would have to adopt it. So you still would have a chance to vote no next week on the, right?
According to 0131,
It's almost like a first reading.
policies may be adopted and revised at any meeting of the board, provided that the proposed adoption or revision has been approved by the board at a previous meeting of the board. So it would have to be, it wouldn't be adopted until the next meeting if there was a vote to approve it tonight.
Okay.
Obviously, if it's not approved tonight, then you're not worrying about adopting it at the next meeting.
So there'd be another vote next meeting for the adoption,
Only if it's approved tonight.
if it's approved.
Yeah, only if it's approved, otherwise nothing to vote on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I guess, Cal, it's really just to, I mean, I wouldn't want anyone that was just a person in my committee meeting without everybody knowing, so I don't see any harm in it.
My two concerns, again, were just, we want to invite somebody that's under contractual relationship with the town. I think we're covered, right? There's contractual protocol between us and that individual for confidentiality, et cetera, right? Even though confidential information cannot be discussed. The other thing was just putting that clarification in there, that confidential information can't be discussed. So you're going to invite somebody that's not under contract with the district, an employee or a contractor, the full board should approve that. I mean, that's the procedure I followed for this whole business committee task force, because I thought that's the way the policy read in the first place. I didn't want to be seen as the business committee or any individual member of the business committee obligating the board, right? We as individual members can't obligate the board. So I think that this amendment protects all the board as well as the individual members.
Any other discussion? Okay. Roll call?
Does everybody have a chance to review it? Anybody need more time?
I think you just give 1 minute, just to review.
I mean, there's nothing illegal about the proposed language. No.
I think just a clarification, you have a contractor must be approved by a majority vote of the full Board of Education. I don't know if we have to put the specifics like this in there, but how is that vote taking place? Right, do we have to do it like if you want to bring, I don't know, Mr. Bennett into a meeting, whatever, right? And is it that you have to then, the board meeting prior, we have to get a majority vote? Is it something, Ari, that we have to do like up here on the dais, I assume, correct?
So, yeah, there's no, precedent for this, but yes, if you're looking to bring someone into a meeting, they'd have to be approved based on this wording that's got created by a majority of the board at the prior board meeting.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Can't pull the board?
No, you wouldn't, that would have to be a vote done publicly. Again, based on the language that Scott presented.
Okay,
This is not statutory, this is not contractual, this is your own policy.
right.
But if you wanted to bring the engineer, you, the conflict attorney, Kevin Murphy's, the
Whatever.
contractor that works on the boilers, right, that are under contract, anybody that's got a contract with the district,
We don't need a protocol.
the committee can bring that in. Right? It's just somebody that's not in a contractual arrangement with this district, the board would approve.
Maybe if we're going to make this kind of change, where we're going to ask the full board for their, blessing, so to speak, why not have it in the policy that if this situation would occur, we meet as a full board for that committee, and we can do that. we can meet as a committee, or we can meet as a full board of the committee.
As long as it's advertised as a regular meeting, yes, you can. You wouldn't need to change.
So if someone wants, so if someone wants to bring somebody that's not within these parameters, and it has to go to the full board, that when that happens, if the full board says yes or no, that it's a committee of the, it's a full committee of, a committee of the full board.
So I don't think it would have to be a committee of the full board, and you always would have the option of making it a committee of the full board. So let's just take the business committee one, right? The business committee task force one. So we discussed on the business committee that we wanted to have members of the public involved with these additional meetings. So we took it to the full board for approval and blessing so that it wouldn't just be the business committee obligating the board. The board didn't feel that it had to become a committee of the whole and that everybody needed to attend it, but the board had knowledge of it, and we all agreed as a board that it was the right thing to do, that we approved that action. I think, Connie, if we had brought that forward and the board said, oh, you know what, we should make that a committee of the whole, there would be no policy change required for the board at that time, the motion to say we should make that a committee of the whole. Would I be correct with that, Ari?
Yes, if I'm understanding you correctly, yes, you would be correct with that. I mean, you could have a committee of the whole at any time, that's perfectly legal. I think you might be conflating, you two might be arguing separate things, but to your point, Connie, it would be legal for the board to do that. To Scott's point, it's not in this policy, so, and it wouldn't need to be in a policy if you wanted to do a committee of the whole.
Two separate issues.
Yes, for the policy. I think it's necessary for us to push it through. I think that, like, we shouldn't go to committee meetings and have surprises. I think if the full board is aware of, if we have guests that are being invited in, I think that we should run it past the full board so they're aware. I don't see there's a negative.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
I have a question.
Okay.
Is that going on now? Like, I'm trying to follow this. You obviously want to expeditiously get this done. Is it happening now where this is occurring?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so just to clarify, we're taking a vote on the amendment that you just suggested, amending the policy to your draft that you just wrote, correct? Is that how this vote's going to go? If you vote yes, you're voting to adopt?
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right,
So
I just want clarification.
The motion is,
No, you're voting to approve Scott's
approve the
amended
Scott,
policy,
okay.
which is an amendment to subsection, I don't have it in front of me.
subsection 7 of policy 0155.
You're not voting
Thank you.
you're not voting to adopt until next meeting
Okay,
if you vote to approve now.
okay, so we're voting to approve.
Right.
Okay.
Yep, and then next meeting, we would vote
Yeah,
to
so
adopt.
first reading for policy, okay. Yeah, first reading for policy, okay.
Any other discussion? All right. Roll call.
Mrs. Baker?
Abstain.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Mrs. Chillo?
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo?
Yes.
Mr. LaLiberty?
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Serrano?
No.
Mr. Arpino?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
No, because I think it should go through the committee first. Okay. Have a motion to, any other business? Have a motion?
No, I have other ones.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to basically formulate a policy. So this would be the motion would be from the board to allow us to ask Ari for input on how to formulate a policy that would basically prevent one board member from asking for all the resumes for every candidate that applied for a job without the full board approval. So basically, you could ask for the resume of the candidate approved, but if you wanted all, let's say there were 32 resumes, and you wanted administration to put them all, to basically require full board approval for that. So the motion would be not to make that policy, but to ask Ari for input on it, because I'm not sure of the legalities of it. But I think it's a topic that needs to be looked into.
Make a motion on that?
Second it.
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Can you tell me again what we're voting on?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't so eloquent and voiced this one. It's basically, all right, here's the situation. With hires, right, we had Terry Lewis from school boards, we've had other councils suggest that board members shouldn't necessarily be seeing every resume of all of the candidate pool. That you can't do anything with it, right? If you don't like number 1, you can't say I want number 3 or number 5. That's not within our bounds. And there's also confidentiality concerns, right? You've got all these people that submitted resumes, and they may not want their former employer to know about it. It's also, there's confidential information on it. So the more those are spread, the more potential liability is about confidential information leaking out. Plus, we need the administration to be working on addressing the numerous issues that we need addressed, right? We got budget issues, and we want to try and improve our standing, and we want to get more kids to proficient, in all of the subject matters. Having them sit there and printing out resumes and aligning time for everybody to come in and look at them takes up their valuable time. So I'm basically looking for a way that one board member can't request and obligate administration to take up all that time and effort to do that. That if you wanted to look at all of the resumes, the full board would approve that. So that's basically what I'm asking Ari to look into, because I'm not sure if it's legal or not, but I think it's something that needs to be addressed.
I think, just a real quick question for Ari. I don't know if it's policy or if it's understood by the board, so you'll have to, I'm not sure what it is. But I believe that no one board member can make a request that would require an exorbitant amount of time. That requires an approval anyway. So I don't know, let me finish. I don't know if that's policy or just something that we've talked about overall, because to your point, Scott, if we're doing, let's just say 32 resumes, and Dr. Hibbs, you can comment and make sure that I'm correct.
Yep.
That's hours of time, because when you go into the system and you pull an application, you can't just say, I'm just going to cherry pick and pull the resume. You have to pull everything into the system individually. So we're not talking as simple as like, click a button, this is the job I want to print out all of the resumes. It's a lot to go in and out to do all that. And then you have to take that information, technically you have to black out and redact all of that information, because you really shouldn't have that information out there if you really want to keep candidates confidential. So, Dr. Hibbs, am I correct if that's the process, or am I wrong? It could be.
Yeah, you are correct. So this happened today, and it took us better part of how many hours, Sean? I can't see your figures. About 3 hours to redact, because personally, I don't think that I think the expectation is that if someone applies for a job, that their name isn't out there to be seen. If they're the finalists, I totally understand that piece. But so for me, it's a non-starter. I think that no matter where we land, however you land, we're going to redact, because I don't want people's names out there. I think that's really important. If they apply for a job, no one should know that. That's personal information. But yeah, it took better part of 3 hours to redact 32 resumes.
And again, I feel like a parrot. I've said this before. I don't see the purpose. I mean, as far as a resume, you're applying for a job, chances are you're going to have the certification that you need. And we don't know what a principal or a superintendent is actually looking for. The resume is a nuance this big of hiring somebody. So to me, that just doesn't, I'm not sure what someone would be looking for, because we don't know what the staff is looking for. Resume is just a teeny piece of the puzzle, as far as my experience is.
So there's two separate issues here. It's a board member's right to access the information versus the amount of time that it takes for the administration to pull that information, right? That's what I think I hear everybody saying. We've already talked in executive session about my interpretation of the law, and I don't think that a lot of you agree with it, which is fine, but that's, there's two parts to this. Scott, if we want to put this into I think what Scott wants to put into policy, and I don't want to speak for you, is the process for a board member to review something, right? Not their right to review it.
So I think process is part of it. I think, and maybe it's a staged process where you could have the summary of, hey, there were 32 candidates that applied, right? And we screened 32, we brought 10 in for a second interview, and we picked 3 for final interviews and all that, right? That's kind of stage one. Stage two of getting all the resumes. I know that was your interpretation of that law, that you can't stop the board member from getting it. They have a legal right to that information. I guess what I'm looking for is another look of that is maybe it's not. They have a legal right to it, but does administration have to provide it, right? The board member could always vote no, right? And if all the board members vote no, it's not getting through. So where is that line between one board member could tie the administration up all day long doing administrative tasks and not running the school? How is that not one person obligating the board?
And I guess
So
there's
it's
what's
more
allowed and
complicated
what
than that,
you
though.
should do. I think there's a difference there, too. I just don't understand what, I mean, it's what I do for a living, and I wouldn't be able to go through 30 resumes and pick the best person for, you know, Frau Berry's building. You know, I don't know, and it's what I do. So I just don't understand why someone would want them, because I don't think it would be, I just don't get it.
Yeah, and I totally get it's complicated, especially with that legal interpretation. I guess my request would be that the board approves you just looking into it to see if there's a way we could create a process or create some type of checkpoint that could somehow hinder or discourage an individual board member from doing that if it wasn't appropriate. Full board's like, yeah, this is a controversial one. We want to see all the resumes, right? Like, let's vote on it as a board. But it's like every time.
Would it help? Ari, if there's, is there statute with this? There's some information that you
It's an
shared earlier?
interpretation of, it's really an interpretation of case law is what you would have. There's no statute that controls
Okay,
this.
okay, so it's an interpretation, right? So where do we go if we want to try to see what's being suggested here is accurate?
Well, if you, and I don't think you need to approve a motion to do this. I'm happy to pull the cases and whatever else I have and let you guys read them yourself, if you want to do it that way. I'm happy to work with Scott, if you approve it, to talk about what is permissible and what is not permissible in policy. The complicated part is getting by the threshold issue of what some of us might feel allows a board member to review that and what others might feel doesn't allow a board member to review that. It's hard to create a policy when everybody can't agree on what's allowed and what's not.
I'll go back to what Ralph said. You know, this obviously looks like something that should be in the policy committee, perhaps where you would come to a policy committee and talk to the committee, or give the full board all these different things that you would find. I think it should go, you shouldn't
Happy
just
to
go
do that
with
too,
what's a
whatever.
particular board member, you should go with one of the committees.
So just a real quick question. If it doesn't get through the policy committee, then what happens to it? Does it just die on the vine?
Well, it would if it goes that route.
Right, so the policy committee is you, Connie, Mr. Serrano, Mr. Ross, and Scott. So the problem is when we have committees of different, I'm going to say dynamics, this sounds all wonderful to put it in the committee, but HR personnel is me, it's you, it's Mr. Serrano and Mr. Ross. So when we have committees like that and we say, let's just put it in committee, the reason why, I'm assuming, Scott, that you're saying this so we can vote as a board is because it doesn't happen. It doesn't get past that committee, right? If the majority of the committee doesn't want to put that through, it doesn't make it.
Well, you
So
bring
it
up,
sounds
you bring up a
easy,
good point,
right,
Carol.
to just go to the
We
committee,
don't have
but then
to
it
have
doesn't go
committees
anywhere.
as a board. We
I'm
don't
sorry?
have to have committees. We can just, we don't have to have
You're
committees.
correct, and back in the day, I guess, when was this? I feel like it was 25 years ago, but I think it was only one. I had asked, do we want to have a committee of the whole, or how do we want to do that? And everyone wanted to have separate committees. If we have to go in that direction, we may have to, because currently, right now, it is a roadblock. If somebody feels passionate and wants to weigh in, we don't have that ability to do that.
Well, I definitely think that's something we ought to talk about. You know, if you're feeling that way, or other people
I'm
are
not
feeling
feeling it,
that
it's a
way,
fact.
I think,
It's not a feeling.
listen, we have to come out a couple nights a week for these committees, I mean, a month, you know, during the month.
Yeah.
And if you feel and others feel that there's roadblocks, then let's do away with the committees. Not all school boards have committees. They work as a full board, and I agree with you. Let's work as a full board, let's do away with the committees. Let's consider that.
There's another option too. I think there's ethical considerations here as well. The other option you could do is do an advisory opinion and simply ask the School Ethics Commission, is this acceptable? And there's no harm, no foul in that. There's no one that would get in trouble. It would just, you simply write, Ari, you would just write your concern.
You write a request to the SEC for an advisory opinion.
Yep.
It's not complicated. It probably will take several months to get a response, but it's certainly an option.
But you'd have an
That
answer.
would be something the board would have to approve, though, to do.
So why don't we do that? That way we have a definitive answer from the authority, so to speak.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
I think my thought was too, when you're talking 31, is there some way that we could have that be the top 5, so it's not 31? Because theoretically, you're not going to pick number 31. Probably a board member is not going to be interested in that, but they might want to see the top 3 or the top 5 that were in.
Yeah.
And then that way, that would really cut down the time.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I guess, but I still don't know why. I'm stuck on this. I don't understand why any of us would want to see resumes. I don't get it.
In my point of view,
I'm
it's a real fair ask to say, hey, who are the second round people? That at least you could narrow down. You can't tell us that we could or could not or should not have brought people back. I think what you'll find consistently through New Jersey school boards is that they don't really like fishing expeditions. Looking at all 32, I don't understand what the end result would be. But if you really want the answer, the ethics advisory would be something you write down, is this okay? And they will come back to you and they provide an answer. But I think Ari's correct. I think you need board action to do that.
So, I like that idea, Pat. I think that's a great compromise that you brought forth. Maybe we could just agree to that, right? We don't need a policy, but we just have an agreement amongst the board, like, hey, if you want to see the resumes, limit it to 5 or 10, something like that.
I thought we just talked about we're gonna pass it on to get a determination.
We'd have to do a motion for that. I'm saying, I'm going to do that too, but I'm also saying, probably going to take several months to get an advisory opinion back. I'm just saying, like, if we could agree, you want to see resumes, maybe you ask for the top 5 or top 10 instead of 30, right?
I'll say this, I don't know if anybody's ever done the process, but I did it. I did it today, and I think you all would have found it very interesting. That just let me leave it at that. It's worth. I spent about close to 2 hours. It's well worth an eye opener. I would encourage you to do it sometime.
I'm okay.
Again, I don't know if we
Sean?
really know what we're looking for, so I still don't get this.
I think whether it's 32, 5, or 10, it still comes back to the why. Why are we looking? What are we looking for? And Dr. Hidds, I think you do a fantastic job when we have candidates that are going to appear on agendas to be approved for some what I would consider non-standard positions. You give a ton of information on those candidates, in terms of what the process was that led into that candidate. So there's a lot of detail and time that goes into even that confidential memo that goes out prior to every board meeting, much more than you'd even find in a resume about someone. So people are being well informed to make a decision.
Yes, for sure. Thanks, Sean.
Okay. So I'd like to make that motion that we pursue looking into an advisory opinion around that. I guess, all right, could you help formulate that motion? What would the motion be? Just that we...
To approve the board attorney to send a request to the SEC for an advisory opinion on this issue. Okay. Now, I'm not sure if you're all in agreement as to what the issue is, but I'll let you formulate that.
Okay. Great point. I think I heard 2 issues, right? One is the whole resumes, and that just may be one example of an onerous request. But my guess is the more specific you are with the advisory opinion, the more likely you are to get a good answer. So I would say let's focus on the resume one first and say, the issue would be, is the board allowed to limit the number of resumes that an individual board member could request, right?
Isn't the first issue, not to skip over that, isn't the first issue, though, is the board member entitled to request and access resumes of all applicants? Isn't that what everyone has been going back and forth on?
I think there's a difference between are they entitled to and does it have to be complied with, right? Like, I could say, hey, I'm entitled to see all those resumes, I want to see them, right? And Dr. Hibbs could be like, I don't have time for that right now. You can vote no if you want, right? And I'd use that as my reason for voting no.
I agree there's a difference, but I don't agree, I think there's still a divide on this board over what a board member is entitled to. So I do agree there's a difference, but I don't know how you get, I mean, if you're sending away for an advisory opinion, wouldn't you want that first answer?
Can you formulate the advisory opinion in two things? Like A, is the,
Yes.
what are they entitled to them? And B, is there a way for the full board to limit the individual requests of a single board member to not create an undue burden on?
So they might not answer the second question because that's not an ethics issue. The first question is an ethical issue. You know, if a board, is it unethical for a board member to review the resumes of all applicants for a particular position, right? That is a direct question to the SEC that concerns the ethical conduct of a board member. The board's right to limit something that is legally allowed is a separate issue. That's really what I think you were asking me to look into. But what I was suggesting was, I don't know that there's a position from this board as that it's legal or it's not legal. We're still stuck on that, right? So looking into the second part is somewhat pointless until we get past the first part.
I think there's two different pieces to this, right? The legal right of the board member and then the rights of the board as a whole, right? To me, those are two separate things, right? You got a board member's legally allowed to do certain things, right? But also, no one board member's allowed to obligate the board, right? So does the board have a right to restrict in some way?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that portion doesn't necessarily need to go to the SEC.
Okay.
I feel like,
a legal opinion on it.
So Ari, you'll work with Scott to formulate something to send?
Sure.
Okay.
And I don't think you need to vote on that if that's what you want me to do.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yep. So there's no motion? Okay.
We don't need a motion for you to do that?
No, are we doing the advisory opinion or am I just working with Scott on the second?
The advisory.
If we're doing the advisory opinion and I'm working with Scott, you make the motion on the advisory opinion and then I will work with Scott towards his second request to see if there's...
Scott, you want to make that motion?
Yeah. So to be clear, though, that the motion is going to be, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that, you know, the board hereby approves the attorney to submit a request to the SEC for an advisory opinion as to whether or not a board member has the right to review resumes of all applicants for a particular position. You know, when that position, I think that it also needs to be mentioned, when that position, or when the board member is being asked to vote on a particular candidate for that position.
Yeah,
It's not just generally,
important.
obviously.
I think that's the critical part of it right there, if you're being asked to vote.
I think they're
All right.
I think that's going to be a yes, right? They're going to say there's that they have a right to review them all.
Well, but that was what, I agree, that's the position I took, but I've been told numerous times that that's not accurate.
Yeah, so there's really,
that's the
I
you're
just
saying
say,
like...
I just I don't agree with it, because we have
I understand
something from
that.
Terry Lewis that said that it's an overreach by a board member. I don't define overreach, I haven't had a chance to talk to her. But to me, there's conflicting opinions on it.
I agree,
Well,
and
right,
that's why
and
I'm
it's-
saying we should ask for
yeah.
the advisory opinion.
Yeah, I think we should do the
So
advisory.
still ask the advisory opinion?
Yeah.
Okay, and then separately, I don't want to be accused of acting on my own and obligating the board. Like, does anybody have an objection to Ari also investigating the legality of, like, limits on the number of
Well, don't you
residents?
think once we get an answer to the first one, then we can work on what we think it should look like in our district?
Yeah.
Because I think we know it's allowed, but I just don't think it's appropriate or necessary. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if I came, I guess it's allowed, but I don't understand the purpose.
Yeah.
I don't,
But
you know
I
what I
think we
mean? So
need that
I
answer.
think we're looking at two different things here. Is it allowed and is it appropriate? You know, it's, or should it happen? Because I don't, you know, what's the purpose kind of thing.
I mean,
So
it
they
The
just-
purpose is that you're going to have to vote on something.
I understand,
Scott.
but seeing other people isn't going to help you.
So just a real quick, historically, when this has happened in the past, I'm just saying years ago, when this type of issue came up, where if there was one or two board members that wanted something that took more time than usual, the administration would just bring it to the full board and say, are you guys cool with me doing this? Yes or no? That's the way it was handled in the past. I don't know if we want to go in that direction or not, but I'm just letting you know that was the way it was handled years ago.
Ari, would you consider, is this technically part of like what would be the personnel file?
Probably, yes.
So this is what it says on school boards. Can a board member review a personnel file when there is a recommendation before the board? A board member may ask to see personnel information if there is an imminent board action to be taken. The request needs to go through the CSA, who should provide specific information relevant to the decision that will be before, be before the board. The district should place restrictions on the time and place of review of the documents to ensure that confidentiality is not breached and limited to truly pertinent documents such as an evaluation or letter. The state has warned against board members going on fishing expeditions. Confidentiality of personnel documents must be ensured. So I think it's an interesting question that whether or not them all. So, I mean, you could read that probably one of a bunch of ways.
The point is, there's still a disagreement on whether or not it's allowed. I think that's what the advisory opinion's for, unless anyone disagrees with that.
I think we still need that. We need
All right,
that.
so
So I'll make the motion.
make the
All right.
motion.
So, I'm making a motion that the board approve the board attorney to,
So I don't have to go back and forth on email 20 times. I'm going to say exactly what I think the motion should be, and if you guys approve it, I will just send it out.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, the board hereby approves the board attorney to submit a request to the SEC. Are you actually typing this,
Yeah.
Lori? That would be helpful, okay.
Go ahead.
Seeking an advisory opinion as to whether or not a board member, when asked to approve a candidate for a position of employment, is permitted to review the resumes of all candidates for that position.
In the candidate.
Of all candidates?
Candidates for that position.
In the
In the candidate pool, however you want to word it. If you want to read that back so everyone can hear it.
Candidate pool.
This is what I typed as fast as I could. The board hereby approves the board attorney to submit a request to the SEC seeking an advisory opinion as to whether or not a board member, when asked to approve a candidate for a position of employment, is permitted to review the resumes of all candidates in the candidate pool for that position.
I'm fine with that. I don't know if that was everyone else's interpretation of what this is.
Yeah, it's good.
Are you able to text that or email that to me?
Yes.
Okay.
so that would need a second, right?
Yes.
I second it.
All right, can we have a roll call? Any more discussion first? Roll call?
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Chilla?
Yes.
Ms. Tamayo? Mr. Liberty?
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Serrano?
Advisory board?
Yes.
Sir.
Yes.
Mr. Arpino?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes. Okay, moving right along. Tom Baldessaro?
Did you open? I don't think you opened in the public.
I'm sorry, thank you. All right, have a motion open to the public?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Okay.
Just my advice, I've hired thousands, probably over 1,000 people. I tell HR I want to interview 5 people for this job. They send me the 5 best candidates. You know why? Because I trust them to do their job. The board has one person to hire. He's sitting right there. Let him do his job. Leave him alone. Support him. Let him fail or succeed on his own merit. Stay out of it. I don't want to see the resumes. It's ridiculous. Point of last week or last meeting when I came up about the old insurance contract, that was very disappointing. Got a little more information, and I saw that our then attorney, not the gentleman sitting up here now, but our then attorney, looked at the proposal, which was rated the worst among the grades from our internal folks, and said there were material defects. Also said that the company did not have a license. Dr. Hibbs, is it normal that we could hire somebody when our attorney says that there's material defects and that they don't have a license? That's that question. Additionally, as you know, coming here and seeing all the kids here today and seeing somebody new sworn in, you're kind of reminded why you guys are all here. And I think a big part of that is forgotten. We're here for the kids. Or no, you're here for the kids. I'm here for the public. But you're here for the kids. You're here to do the right thing. You're here to set an example. And there's a lot that goes into sitting in that chair. You have to check a lot of boxes. It's a lot harder to get in that chair than it is to get in the board president's chair. Mr. Ross, you've disappointed. You've played favorites. You play favorites with the board. You seem to only talk to a couple of them. You stack your committees to where it's all your base. Mr. LaLiberty made a recommendation that Mr. Lindsay sit on the business committee. You completely ignored him in that meeting. A strong leader will put their people in a position and then let them do their job. You just overreached, didn't let him do his job, put Mrs. Baker on the committee and stacked it again with your base. A good committee function will have diversity across the committees. Can you please reconsider what you did and let Mr. LaLiberty do his job, the business committee, have the people he wants on the committee because he knows what he needs to do. Stop stacking the committees. You have an agenda, and it's so transparent to everybody here, you got to stop. You know, I talked about the new student here. There are things that a board member has to do. It's not hard. You have to file your election paperwork, and you have a code of ethics to abide by. There's really no accountability to that, though. If you don't file your stuff, I could go to elect and file something, and it would probably take 3 or 4 years. Same thing with ethics. So I have stuff I'd love, you've been talking about a lot of policy, and I would love for somebody to discuss this, and you guys can have my paperwork here if you want. But the first one I have here is no person who has not followed the law and appropriately made the necessary filings with the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission may be elected to the position of president or vice president. This is asking the board to hold the board accountable. If you don't follow the law, I'm sorry, Mr. Ross, you shouldn't be sitting in that chair. You've ignored every request to say, hey, who funded your campaign? You've done nothing. Okay, it doesn't matter who gave it to you, you have to report it. It's the law. But there's no accountability there, so you can sit there. So I'm asking this board to do that. Same thing with chair of a committee. If you don't do the right thing, you can't be it. Also, if you have a pending ethics case, you can't be sitting in that chair. Again, that's nobody up here, but I'm just trying to look ahead and say, we want to set an example for our kids. So I'm going to ask somebody to bring this up as a motion. And again, if anybody wants my paper, I got 4 of them here. You can have it. And again, this is about right and wrong. Let's do the right thing, okay? How do we, if you disagree with what I just said, I would ask you to think about the kids here and say, why is it okay for somebody who has not followed the law to be sitting in the presidency? It makes no sense to me. So I'll ask, does anybody want my piece of paper here that has what I've written down in 4 motions? Thank you. I would love to see some discussion. Oh, he was first, you're slow. I would love to see some discussion. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Ross, can I make a comment for the solicitor? I thought back around January, when we had the reorganization, there was an issue that came up from the public about, you know, this filing reports and all. And as I recall, I thought and correct me if I'm wrong, that you said the proper place is not at the board, but with filing it with the elect.
So that was Adam, my partner, that said that.
Okay.
But that is inaccurate. I believe, I mean, obviously, I don't have verbatim what he said, but that is the gist of what he said, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, just to clarify that, though, it is New Jersey law that every candidate has to file those forms, correct?
Correct.
And is that what Mr. Baldessaro suggested of a policy, right, whereby could this board create a policy that says, oh, you can't elect somebody as board president that didn't file their elect paperwork? Is that even something that a board could do? Like, would we have the power to do that?
Likely not. Without having any time to look into the issue, likely not. But I could certainly look into that as well, if you would like. Remember, board members do not have the ability to police other board members. That's one thing that, you know, is always a difficult conversation with boards, but it's, you know, the only organization that could police a board is the SEC. I'm not saying that what Mr. Baldessaro gave you is not legally permissible, but I would definitely need to look into that and consider it. You can share a copy if you want.
I'll give you this one. I'll just
Okay.
underline it.
Okay.
Let me answer.
So I got a question.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead, Mr. Toronto.
I see here, there's two different, it seems to be two different entities. School Ethics Commission and the Office of Administrative Law Judge for Determination. Are those two separate things?
Those are two separate entities.
If you have a pending school ethics charge and they find nothing was done ethically, the SEC is out of it, correct?
Correct. Those are two separate entities.
So the person,
Totally different jurisdiction, totally different subject matters before them.
okay, so the office,
The SEC,
so
you're talking, I think we're talking about two different things, in fairness. Oh, okay, he's talking about elect and
no,
the
I'm talking
SEC.
about school ethics and Office of Administrative
Okay,
Law.
all right.
So if,
Yes, so he's correct in that. Yes, that judge will hear the matter ultimately, yes. I'm sorry, I totally misunderstood what you
right,
guys
right, but
were
what
talking
I'm saying is School Ethics Commission,
Yes.
you have, if you have a finding that exonerates the person who filed the complaint can still go and say, I want second review, I want a second opinion, I'm going to take this
No,
out.
once the matter is dismissed, it's done. It doesn't keep going on.
What ends up happening is that if there's an accusation, and sadly I know all about this, about accusations, so I went through 3 years of nonsense, but you can write down whatever you want about an official, and if what could be proven true, if it could be proven true, it will essentially flow through to the Office of Administrative Law. Some things may get dismissed along the way, but in the end, the School Ethics Commission will eventually be out of it, and then it will transfer completely to the OAL. I want to take a second and respond. There's a lot of great parts about what we do, and I think that everybody would agree tonight was amazing, right? Tonight amazing, and we did so much that was great for kids. But we also get mired down in a lot of things that are not about what's best for kids, and that needs to change. And I'll say personally that, you know, one of the things I constantly try to do with my life is to try to always refocus and ensure that I'm doing what's best. And a great example is this week I got up, I brushed my teeth on Monday, and I'm like, I have to get to at least 2 buildings today. And then my day ends up going sideways a lot, as you can see by being here. But unilaterally, no matter what I do, I'm focused on what's best for kids. I'm focused on trying to ensure that we all together can make Washington Township the very best school district in the state, if not the nation. To answer Tom's questions, is it normal, I think I had it right, is it normal to hire someone with material defects or not having a license? That answer is just 100% no. And I'm gonna take 5 minutes, and I'm gonna make sure that my conscience is clear as a superintendent, because I'm always gonna have integrity, and you know, it's okay if people don't appreciate that, but I stand on that 100%. So thanks, Soph. we had a lot of Oprah requests coming in that focused all on the approval of ICS as our insurance broker. And when these came in, and they came in fast and furious, I asked a lot of questions. Janine sometimes tells me to get out of her office, not really, but kind of, and asks, I ask a lot of questions. And I didn't like what I found. And there's a lot of things that are eyebrow raising. So first off, whenever you do an RFP, there's always a rating sheet. So we have rating sheets for every RFP. And what ends up happening is that they look like this. And then what happens is that the administration rank orders things. So for every RFP, this should tie right back to the criteria. So in the case of the insurance broker back in 2021, when you look at who inevitably got approved, the person that got approved, which was ICS, was a 16 and a 15 out of 40. They were the last, dead last. So to answer your question, is that normal? That is the opposite of normal. I've actually never seen that at all. Coupled with the fact that, to answer your question, was there a license? No, there was definitely not a license, but the list of defects, and all of this now is attorney-client privilege is waived. References were not from public school districts. The partner firm was not identified. There was no description of the staff or team that was available. There was no resumes of experience. The individual's banking license expired in March of that year. No educational background. The second piece that was massively concerning, massively concerning, aside from the fact that inevitably what ended up happening is we put on someone who was ranked dead last, is that there was a legal analysis done here, and I'm going to read you the last part of this. While I'm not making any recommendation to the board on the financial aspects and ultimate selection of the health benefits consultant, the current defects in the ICS proposal are considerable. So what ended up happening then is that the then board president, Julie Kazempel, directed Janine to remove things from an agenda. That happened. You can find the agenda. You can see that it was 100% deleted. Then it was read in at a board meeting, and there's emails that went out to the committee at that time that did not inform everybody of the fact that the rating sheets were dead last, or that there was a legal email that cautioned, the caution flag was up. And then what ended up happening is that it was read in to an agenda, that person was then approved, and then immediately that person ended up costing the Board of Education, I think it was $400,000, Janine? About $400,000. So as your superintendent, I took this information, and I've spoken to actually 2 lawyers that are not sitting at this dais, and I also relayed this information to the Office of Public Integrity and Accountability, because quite frankly, I'm massively concerned about this entire process, and how that ever could have happened here is just mind-boggling to me. And I think it's a great testimony to what we have to do and what we have to ensure moving forward never, ever, ever occurs here. And I will never let that happen here without coming in and explaining. But I have brought this to the board and board members. It was received differently. And quite frankly, my head hits the pillow with integrity, and this was not okay. And I did what I needed to do. So there's your answer, Mr. Baltzan. No, not normal.
Heather Whitcraft?
Hi, my name is Heather Whitcraft. Congratulations, Mr. Rapino, on your appointment. I also wanted to, I talked to some already, but on October 24th at the Washington Township Senior Center from 6 to 8 p.m., I know there's already the League of Women Voters Meet the Candidate, but this will be more of a roundtable discussion. It's more relaxed, but I wanted to make sure Mr. Arpino, Mr. Serrano, and Mr. Lindsay, as well as the other candidates, have all received their invitations, as well as surveys that I sent out. Probably for the last 9, 10 years, almost every election that there was, we've sent out different surveys. And whether or not the candidates can come or people can attend, their answers are still provided, either in digital or paper form, so everybody's voices are heard. But that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a, oh, go ahead. Snacks. Thank you, Heather. Just real quick on that. Thank you, Heather. So for the board, if Mr. Arpino, Mr. Serrano, Mr. Lindsay, if you guys are going to attend, I just want to make sure that we don't have 2 additional board members there, because that would be a quorum. So just if we can communicate ourselves, if someone wanted to go, and it sounds like, Heather, it's an open meeting, like if we wanted to go, we just have to be careful, because we already have 3 of you there. So 2 additional people can't join. If one other person just communicates amongst ourselves, if somebody wanted to go, only one of us could go. Just want to make sure that we're aware. Correct. Just wanted to make sure for the board, if someone wanted to go and, listen, we just can't have 2 people from the board additionally. Thank you for that.
Mr. Lucarini.
There's somebody else after.
Dr. Hibbs, I'm glad that you went over that last bit of information, clarified some of the rumors that were out there. So before I get into that, what I just watched for probably close to an hour was a bunch of inside baseball about nonsense that a minor point that Mr. LaLiberty wants to bring up or have passed that regarding ethics, basically, what it comes down to, took a discussion for over a half hour and pushback by Mr. Serrano and by Mrs. Baker. All right? Mrs. Blum, I didn't hear how you voted, so I couldn't understand when they said yes or no. But it's all political nonsense. So then we get to the main story. And the main story is that Mrs. Kozempel was the Board of Education president. She had a scheme to get a new superintendent who was her girlfriend, best friend, as the new superintendent before Joe Bollendorf even said he was going to resign. Okay? I read that in public. She wrote it. She denied writing it. Then she lied and said, I did nothing wrong. Really? I don't know. It seems to me that we're facing an ethics charge related to it, which the district is paying for, by the way, in terms of her lawyers. All right. On top of that, we get this insurance broker who I believe is the, not back then, but today, is the co-chair of the Democrat political party locally. That party has been highly suspect of being more involved in school board elections, undermining the integrity of this district, than the Republican Party. And that's hard for me to say, especially since I'm a Democrat, but I'm a real one, Serrano. On top of that, Mrs. Kozempel then puts forth this insurance broker whose name is Milam, I believe, was connected to this company, and now he's under indictment in relation to other matters and his involvement undermining the public trust. And then we find out from Dr. Hibbs here that his insurance firm, or ICS, was not the most qualified, and that Mrs. Kozempel pushed it through under the noses of her board members. And then we ended up losing $400,000 on top of that. And Mr. Arpino, you've made a lot of comments about teachers, not bleachers. I don't know what that means. But that $400,000 could have gone a long way, don't you think? Right? That we were putting towards a scam. And this woman has the audacity to run for the Board of Education again. And people like you, Mr. Serrano, and Mr. Ross, and Mrs. Baker join her in her little communications with, at the bagel shop or whatever, as you plot and scheme the further undermining of this district. All right? That's what's happened here. It's overtly political. It's always been political. No one's going to argue that. I could cite 20 years ago. I can go back to you, Ralph, when Tom Fleming, who was a vice principal at Orchard Valley at the time, had a application on his desk, and he threw it down in front of me and Eli Maslikoff, and it had a little sticky note on it. And he says, look at this. And it had sticky notes, and Mrs. Baker, you're aware of this too. And it said, hire but can't fire. He says, we get these all the time from central administration under Dr. Terrell at the time, where we are told, hire but can fire, hire but can't fire. All right? That's what's going on in this district for many, many years. But it's never been to the extent it is now. All right? And about this campaign finance, I think you ought to start telling the public where you got your money, Ralph, for this last election. All right? And so the same would apply to you, Mr. Serrano.
Thank you.
Always a tough act to follow, Ron. I had a question about the discussion of resumes and board members being able to look at resumes. That was a very lengthy conversation, so if I missed the answer to this. I hope what you're voting on is not taking away the right for a board member to pull resumes. I heard what Dr. Hibbs said about not fishing, and it sounded like that was for employees, current employees, but when you have candidates applying for a job, and this is something I previously mentioned at a board meeting and also had wrote an email about, if there's a candidate that applies and doesn't even get a second interview that is way overqualified for the job, and it's brought to the board, you should be able to, I feel her, I'm ready. You should be able to pull those resumes, because if there's 30 resumes and the person that's really qualified for the job didn't get the job, there should be a reason why. But nobody would know that because the person that's hiring them makes that call. And we should be able to trust them that they are making the right decision. But now twice, just this year, I know 2 people that are qualified that did not get a job. 2 of them didn't get a second interview, and I know that the special ed department is out of compliance. There's no reason that these 2 individuals should not have gotten hired. They were overqualified by education, by experience, and by certifications. If the Board of Education is able to pull those resumes, if it ended up being that they were the ones qualified for the job over the person that was hired, that's a problem. Or if nobody was hired and that job sat open and a kid is affected, that's a problem. So we should be able to trust the person that's doing that. That doesn't happen all the time in this district. So you guys are who we come to next. I don't want to see your rights get taken away when parents have to have somewhere to go that's not that person. Because again, it's happened twice already. And both of these people, our kids would have benefited from, the schools would have benefited from. They didn't deserve to not work here because of a personal agenda or whatever it was. But there should be a way that you guys could look into that. So I hope what you're voting on is not taking away that right from yourselves for those specific purposes. So that's just my take on that. I'm going to go now. Thanks.
And you only call, like, you kind of, like, before I was saying, why? Like, why do we need to look? Like, that's a why. If it's just because I wanna, that's a different story. I don't know if that makes sense. If there's a reason and there's a why, that's one thing. If it's just because I wanna look, because I wanna look, so I don't think I like the superintendent recommended, because I never do, that's not enough. I don't know. But when the vote happens, you don't wanna take it away because
Okay, have a motion to close to the public?
it's Melissa. She's going to second. Thank
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.